Hello, everyone. This is Art here, and back with a third installation in this series that I'm starting out to do. It's just me talking about stuff. Uh, Something like a podcast in a way, but it's on YouTube, and I'm not affiliated with any sort of podcast or sponsors or anything because I just started it out. It's not what I how do I say this? I initially didn't intend any of this to be like a podcast or anything. It's just this, you know? Nothing really special in particular. Just this, me talking about stuff, and hopefully there are some people who are interested in what I talk about. So today, I want to talk about Japan. Uh, a little bit about Japan, a little bit specifically about job finding. So I think I might not have mentioned in the first or second series, or maybe both, that I do not have the qualification of like a university qualification of postgraduate qualification, bachelor's, master's. I don't have any of that, or let alone a high school diploma. So when you're trying to find a job in Japan and you're looking for a job that you know you're okay with, a lot of the requirements that they have would be a no, not a high school diploma, but a bachelor's degree or a teaching certificate, TEFL, if you want to teach English in a foreign country, because TEFL stands for Teaching English as a Foreign Language. Um, it's a teaching cert that you have to go through. I think it takes about maybe like 2 years or something. It's a long time, and if you're invested into getting that's like 2 years of your life. It's a lot of time, 2 years. So there are some organizations that provide you this experience of TEFL, if say like Japan, you know. I've come across a couple of sites that talked about. Let me pull up the notes over here. Let me get them. All right, sticky notes. Where are we at? It's what they basically do. What they basically do is if you have a bachelor's degree, they will have you set up for this entire teaching English Japan journey. They'll cover your costs and everything. They all you really need to do is provide your proof of education, your passport, and citizenship, and all of that. And basically, they'll give you free accommodation. They'll set up all of your insurance and everything. Just be careful when you're looking around because there are some shady businesses, like most, if not all countries, that will try to scam you. So you have to be careful because I have read horror stories in the review sections of a couple of websites or companies where employees are working 12-hour shifts or not getting paid overtime. And it was one specific review that I just recently came across yesterday that I was looking through where this person in question had their check-in and check-out card checked out at 9:30 p.m., which is when they get to go home and everything. They had their card checked out not by them but by the employees of the company, and basically no pay was given to this person when he worked overtime. And this is kind of like a worst case scenario kind of thing. There are some companies that you should avoid looking into. It's Gab. I'm not sure if it's the GABA Corporation. It's a very mixed bag of reviews. I've seen positive ones and very negative ones, not in the ratio of kind of like 50-50-ish, maybe like 40-60, 60 being the good and 40 being the bad. It's kind of like a roll of the dice. It's not something that you want if you're going to a foreign country and you might not even know the language or culture for that matter, and people take advantage of you. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend this company. Uh, Although there are some that I would very, very highly recommend. It's the JET program, Japanese Exchange Teaching Program. They say exchange, but it's not really an exchange. What you have to do is, like I said at the start, provide the proof of your education, your bachelor's certificate, proof of citizenship, and just a kind of whatchamacallit, portfolio of sorts to showcase to them, telling them why you are, suitable for this particular job. So over the years, it has certainly gotten very competitive. The environment has changed. Initially, back in the past, I think it was the 2011 Japanese earthquake. At the time, the whole Fukushima incident, people was skeptical about going to Japan because of the, the so-called fallout of the area and the destruction of the tsunami. But it was mostly the incident of Fukushima because it polluted the nearby waters and everything, and the fishes were all radioactive. So interest in going abroad in Japan wasn't much, and in a way Japan tried to entice international people to come over to study. They, or not study, to work. They have this program, the exchange teaching program. Basically, yeah, you go over there, you sign a contract, and they'll cover your costs and everything. They'll set up your accommodation and everything. And basically, what you have to do is to kind of show up on the job. You act as an assistant teacher or maybe even like a fully fledged teacher, but it's not. I think it varies from individual to individual. I think a very, very famous case that you can look into, I say it like it's a bad thing, but no, it really isn't. Look into Chris Broad, or Abroad in Japan. His channel covers his entire Japanese journey, if I can speak right now, from start to current day. You get to see the progression that he's made, all the progress from the very start to right now. He tells his entire life story, and he tells people about his little process of getting, into Japan. The whole, you get to hear quite a bit from his podcasts, and yeah, I highly recommend his channel. If you've not watched him, I really, really recommend it. Abroad in Japan. Host is Chris Broad. Very entertaining guy, very funny, and he is one of the people that got me very interested in Japan as well, even more interested than I was. Showcased a lot of corners of Japan that I've never really seen before, and that got me hooked, absolutely hooked. But yeah, there are plenty of stories out there, but the JET program I can recommend. If you have a bachelor's degree, if you are looking to go to Japan and find a job, find a gateway of sorts. If you're not, because you need to have this in mind. You need to have a fairly broad understanding of the situation, Like, are you going to be working there for a good amount of time? Are you settling down? Like, what's the plan? What is the goal? So keep that in mind, but don't worry about it too much. But keep it in mind, yes. I lost track of what I wanted to say. I was talking about the JET program, talking about abroad in Japan. This would be a lot easier if I had like a co-host of sorts, of someone to talk to about Japan. That would be nice. But this is a little thing that I'm starting out on my own. I hope that it can grow into something interesting that some people will be interested in, listen to, tune in and listen to, if they just need to hear somebody talk about something. I personally need that sometimes. Just a little bit of company. Doesn't necessarily have to be physical, although I would pretty much prefer the person to be there in person. I can see them. Yeah. Touch them. That's kind of weird, right? But yeah, that's the general idea. And yes, I have to mention too that you do not need to know how to speak Japanese, but it's very beneficial if you do. But don't worry about it. In your own time, in your free time in Japan, I am sure that you'll also find people to guide you through the entire process of learning the language and whatnot. I'm sure the company is more than happy to assist you with that. It's a shame that I'm not able to qualify for this, or even if I did, it's a very competitive process. But do not let that deter you from trying. All right, just give it a shot. You never know. If you get accepted and it's something that you're really looking forward to do, that's fantastic. Go for it. Absolutely. Take the chance and go for it. These are the shots that you don't take are just, going to be missed shots. It's at least worth a try. It may be a little bit of a long process. Might take some time for them to get back to you, but good things, for the most part, comes to those who wait. For the most part. Not everything in life is guaranteed. Not everything in life is for absolute certainty. But it's always worth a shot. And if you don't take that shot, it's definitely going to be a miss. So, yeah, I've talked about job searching in Japan. All right, next go to the next topic. WWOOF Japan. Ooh, Japan. It sounds kind of weird. And at first I was like, what? It's a weird name. But it was a friend who introduced this to me, and basically what WOOF Japan is a work abroad experience. In a way, it's something like volunteering work. The number of jobs that they list on this particular website has different kinds of requirements and sorts, but they usually feature work where you like work in a farm, or you work at a hotel or something. You can be like a day sitter at a home. You can take care of children whose parents are very, very busy. They would want people who can speak English, and everything. You don't need a bachelor's degree. You don't need to know how to speak Japanese, although that is very beneficial, and I do recommend for you to brush up on some basics, get to know some phrases, at least maybe know how to read, not necessarily write, but at least read the hiragana and katakana, and maybe just a few useful kanji here and there. That's what I would recommend. But I was unfortunately unsuccessful in this endeavor, not because I couldn't find a job. I actually did. But this happened back in 2020, in April, in the early onset of COVID-19, that brought in a lot of lockdowns all over the place, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to go over to Japan, and right now things are not looking good. And I'm not sure if I mentioned the if I would have mentioned a pandemic, the video would get censored or something. That would be weird. Um, but I suppose the massive information that comes in, it takes so much time for you to process. Is that misinformation? Is that right? Is that wrong? Kind of thing. But I was looking forward to doing Wolf in Japan. But yeah, that didn't come into any sort of concrete thing. It was just there. It was a theory I was about to set out, but I wasn't able to achieve it due to very poor timing. So, yeah. A lot of people, I tell them about these things, about how I try to find a job. And I was unsuccessful and this and that. The general advice that people gave me, unfortunately, wasn't helpful. I like to think that my situation's a little bit more unfortunate than others, a little bit more unique in a way. Not to say that I'm sort of some sort of special person. That's not what I'm trying to say here. Get this though. It's just I've tried to take up their advice and let it play it out in my life. And I've tried it and I've committed to it and it didn't work. It's very unfortunate. People say to fix, mental health, get some exercise and everything. Man, there's a lot of hurdles to jump through, and it's very, very difficult for me to do that. I really don't have the energy for that. The advice of returning back to school here in my country, I'm not keen on that idea. It was also partially due to that I had this whole ordeal of mental health. It has caused it to worsen, and it's a terrible feeling. I really don't like my country, and I don't really want to have anything to do with it. I want to get out. I want to go to a place where I truly believe that I want to be in. I would definitely love to return to America one day. There were many, many good times that we had there in my 2 years of stay. I very much enjoyed it over there. Although during that time I did complain quite a bit because I wasn't used to the lifestyle. But at the end of, it wasn't really 2 years. It was a little bit less than that. It's about 2 years and 1 year and 10 months. 1 year and 10 months. It was around the end of that time, the last 6 months of my stay, that I truly got to realize what I did not appreciate at the start. And it was a year too late, but at least, I could look back very fondly on it and my experience in America, because growing up here in my own country, I did not really have much of a childhood. I didn't really have friends that I could talk to. Didn't really have anyone I could relate to. At the time, I loved video games, but I wasn't given the opportunity to actually play it, a whole bunch. I only was able to play on weekends after I did my homework and everything. I was only allotted an hour or 2 hours, like on the weekends, to just play, and it sucked. I only had a Mac at the time. I could only play Flash games, and I only ever got my Xbox 360 when I was 13, and the only game I had was maybe like Halo 5 that I would play a lot. I couldn't really play online due to my parents not really keen on spending an Xbox Gold or Xbox Live for that matter, which I think is terrible. The Xbox Live thing, that is, I believe that once you buy the console, once you buy the game, you should just be allowed to play the game as is, online or offline, without any sort of membership of sorts. The membership should be for like game bundles or like discounts or something. It really shouldn't be whether you are allowed to play online or not, and I think that's terrible. Just think of computers. You know, you built your computer, you buy your game, and yes, I know some games out there have subscriptions. World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy 14 Online, absolutely. Maybe even EVE Online, but you know, you could go free to play in that game. It's tough, but it's possible. A little bit insane, but not impossible. You could try in EVE Online. But what I'm trying to say is, I really didn't get to do anything. I don't really have a lot of fond memories from my childhood, only until I went to America, and that 2 years was the only time I ever really had anything that I could look back very fondly upon. I was not in school. I wasn't good, you know, in academics. I was pretty shit. And well, in that time in America, it's a shame because all that time before that, I was just, you know, yearning to play a whole bunch of video games. And as soon as I got to America, I had all that free time to myself. I don't really know why my parents didn't really hold me back, but I had a lot of time to myself to play whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. As soon as I came back from school, I would just play 6 hours, you know, every day, and sometimes even more than that. I wasn't really particularly good at the game I was playing, but I had a lot of fun. But I was so fixated on playing games, I missed out on other opportunities that I could be spending to, you know, that I could have used to make more very fond memories. But it is what it is. That's the past. You know, I have to move on from it. I cannot just keep lingering and complaining about it, because it won't change anything. It's not like I can go back in time. It's not possible to go back in time. You could go forward in time. It's possible for you to go forward in time because of like speed dilation, but you need to achieve the speed of light in order to do that, and we are nowhere close to that at the moment. Moving humans at the speed of light, that is not possible. But yeah, I'm going off topic here, but it's a very interesting thing, time travel. uh I truly wonder, when will we break have a massive breakthrough of sorts that we could travel. But then we also have this whole thing, if, you know, people in the future, you know, in like an alternate, not alternate reality, but like, why haven't we had time travelers yet? Is it because like time travel just simply isn't possible? You can't go back in time, kind of thing. But it is what it is. Or it'll mess up the time paradox. Yeah, you get the idea. Anyways, yeah. So that was just me, a rant of sorts, a little bit insight into my life, and I don't think I would want to live that. It's a really boring life, and I would not recommend anyone to be in my shoes and experience that. It's not fun. It really isn't. So let's talk about the current state of affairs of the pandemic in Japan. So, as you know, the Olympics last year was cancelled due to concerns over the pandemic, about how everything was in shambles. And right now, Japan is pushing forward for the Olympics. Let me have a look over here. I the Olympics is scheduled to start on the 23rd of July, 2021. There won't be any international visitors to the stadiums. All tickets have been refunded to those who have bought it, international people, and there doesn't seem to be any official word yet about the entry of teams and supporting staff. This was an article, an update on the March 21st, 2021. This is probably old information. This information I got from snowmonkeyresorts.com. Yeah, it's a little bit of an old article, but that is the state of the Olympics. People in Japan are not happy about it. They think it's a silly idea for them to push forward, but I think the Japanese have their hand too deep into this matter. They cannot take it out because they're going to be losing so much. And I'm not too sure if it's a concern of pride of sorts, because the Japanese government is not necessarily productive. What I've heard, and please take this with a grain of salt, I have to point this out. This I am not sure. But from what I've heard, the Japanese government doesn't move forward with their plans or whatsoever if the parties are not satisfied. So if all parties cannot come to one unanimous agreement, the idea doesn't move forward. And that's what I heard. I am not sure if that's true. But I know for a fact that the Japanese government is slow to react, is what I'm saying. As for the vaccine in itself, I have checked and read a couple of news websites, AP News, the Washington Post, and Japan Times. So the situation about vaccination in Japan, the people are not how do I say this? They're not trustworthy. The vaccine confidence is low, and it's been decades, So let me see this. In the 1990s, the government scrapped mandatory inoculations after a court ruling held it responsible for the side effects linked to several vaccines. Japan does have enough vaccines for its citizens, but it seems that their people are not very keen on this. Overall confidence it's been very low. A global study published in September in the British medical journal The Lancet showed that Japanese people were amongst the world's least confident in vaccine safety, alongside people in France and Mongolia. Fewer than 10% of respondents strongly agreeing with the idea that vaccines were safe. So you can tell that there was a majority of mistrust, and this was taken from the Washington Post. This was an article written back in December 19, 2020. The article is called Japan and Audit Enough Vaccines for the Whole Country. Now it has to overcome a history of vaccine mistrust. So, yeah. I suppose the government has acted fast in this one, but its people are not trusting of it. So it's a complicated state of affairs. Yeah. They've also had some pretty odd policies, like the 2 masks per family policy, which a lot of people made fun of because obviously, what if you had a family of 3 or 4 or 5 or 6? You know, what about them? And it's just 2 masks per family given out for the entire country. That's it. That's obviously not enough. And there were a lot of memes about it. And yep, that's how it is. So I do hope that Japan, the Japanese people, will realize that they need to take action, you know, that the citizens of Japan, need to step up and have some trust in the vaccines provided. I just hope that, you know, things can move on as per normal and the world will not, I wouldn't say selfish. The Japanese are not selfish, they just have a mistrust. That is a difference. People need to know that. I just hope, yeah, things will honestly get better. Yeah. So I'm looking at an article. Again, this is an article from the Japan Times, and it was written on the 18th of January this year, 2021. A poll here in the article. Polls have shown recently that 70% of Japanese are willing to get a coronavirus vaccine, but still, skepticism against vaccines is deeply rooted in the country. In 2016, eBiomedicine studied 67 countries. 31% of Japanese were skeptical of vaccine safety, ranking 3rd highest following France, Bosnia, and Herzegovina. The global average is 13. So it seems that the stats from the Washington Post and the Japan Times differ from quite a bit. But there is a mistrust nonetheless. So I just hope that, you know, things will look up soon enough. Where I'm living right now, things are okay. Just had another lockdown because there was a new strain spreading around, so some people got infected and whatnot. But we have the situation mostly under control, so it's all right. So yeah, I think I'll leave it at that. That was a very interesting talk about Japan, you know, finding a job and the COVID situation. That's just my personal thoughts or anything. Nothing insightful. Just chilling, you know. I find it interesting to talk about it, and I forget that maybe some people might agree with me. Some people have differing views. Yeah, that's all right. It's cool. So, yeah, I think I'm going to end it today at that. Thank you very much for listening. I hope to find another interesting topic that I can talk about in the next sort of podcast or something that I'm talking to. This is weird. I don't have any sort of professional way of doing it, like introducing, like, hey guys, it's Art. It's Artasia here with another podcast, and our sponsor today is Redacted. Something like that. I can't really do that. I just feel that this could be a nice personal kind of thing where I don't have any sort of professionalism. I just kind of be myself, but I have to definitely learn how to speak more coherently. I need to be more confident in myself. It's a very new thing. I said in the first episode that everyone's got to start somewhere. And for the most part, it's probably going to be shit, but everyone starts somewhere, right? So, yeah, don't worry about it. Yeah, just had a little yawn and everything. I gotta clear my food off the table and whatnot. So, till next time, I wish all of you the best. I hope you all will stay safe and healthy. Please follow the instructions of your, the government and everything. Be cool, guys. And yeah, I'll catch you all next time. Goodbye.